And ahead of the governorship elections in Imo State, opposition parties have intensified their calls for the replacement of the resident electoral commissioner in the state, Sylvia Agu. The People's Democratic Party, Labour Party, African Democratic Congress, Social Democratic Party, and the Action Alliance are all asking that the REC be changed based on alleged romance with the All Progressives Congress in the state. However, it seems the Independent National Electoral Commission is not willing to listen to the complaints of the opposition parties. This development has become a talking point for election observers and civil society organizations who believe INEC needs to listen to the political parties who are the major players in the game. And how can INEC ensure the credibility of the November 11 governorship election? Let's have this conversation with Associate Professor of Law and a RISE analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi. Very warm welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you, Chris.
Who is not listening here? Or are the political parties just, raising herrings here?
No, not the herring at all. In the February 25th election and the March election, the Imo didn't have governorship, they had House of Assembly. After that election, there was so much hue and cry over Xavier. Don't forget that when they were being confirmed for this position, civil society groups raised concern about the partisanship of a few of the RECs nominated. Some were said to have been chief of staff to, or deputy chief of staff to the governor of February then some had party affiliations, clear. Now, after that election, the tribunals have made far-reaching findings. For example, the APC went on with 21/21. I mean, even in some unlikely places, including a place like Abombise, where the then Ihedioha, who was the PDP Supremo, came from. The PDP just, Labour wanted to sit in the federal election. In the state election, APC took everything. So there's been this issue. Again, there's also a report that two results, one in IREV, one in the server, different results from one polling unit. So clearly, if all the five political parties now, minus APC, the ruling party, make a statement around one electoral officer, there was also in Edo, Obonga Efang, who is credible. They took him to Bayelsa now. We've seen Mike Guinea. So there have been REC who have done elections and all the parties lose or win, they go to tribunal, but nobody says remove this person.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's the major threat to free and fair election in Imo State is to allow the REC to continue. I mean, if five major parties, we're talking about Fringe, APC, PDP, Labour, these are the top parties, at least with APC. If they are saying on protest with petition and then joined by AA, we can call them not too dominant, SDP, ADC. Again, issue of security. By now, INEC should come out clear and say, where will elections hold? Don't forget that almost a bigger chunk of Olo is actually lost.
So insecurity now. Yes,
exactly.
Yes. The people can never really go and vote there the way it is.
Exactly. Some part of Okigwe is not getting lost, except you're able to, change the dynamics. So you can't go to election and say there are booths with qualified with 200, 300,000 voters in this place, and nobody's voting.
And youth coppers are going to be deployed there.
And
a place that is not secure.
Exactly. And then you see results, and you're not using real-time electronic transmission. You get the point? So the whole confusion, the legality given to INEC now to say, well, whether we use this A or B options, mean that INEC has to come out and say, this is where votes will not happen, because those places are currently, if people are not holding funerals, birthdays, weddings in their communities. So those are silos for vote rigging. So the three things that must be done, and this is national security implications, by the way, because Imo is, don't forget that this crisis took a new dimension from 2020 when Imo election went to tribunal, went to Supreme Court. The government in power says it was the politicians who lost that in that Supreme Court. The politicians who are opposition say it is the government in power that injured us. So either way, the point is that from 2020, after the Supreme Court decision in
Imo has not known peace.
Imo has not known peace. So isn't it sensible to National Security Advisor, to defense chiefs, to INEC chiefs, that that's a place you have to handle carefully. Why would you allow the career, the ego of a person, the wreck, whether she's good or bad, keep her aside for this election? There are credible national officers.
Or deploy more
national
ranks,
officers.
because we saw that when Guinea was in Edo State, you know, contentious, a very contentious election
Absolutely.
there, and they had about 4 ranks there.
Exactly. So why not say, look, we step in and say, look, guilty or not guilty. In law, it says justice has to be done and sin to be done. There should be trust. You can't go to election where people say that rumors of vehicles being given to them,
or if
all kinds of rumors.
In Olu, for example, if we don't have elections there and there, they come and declare results.
What will you do? So INEC has to tell us which polling unit is safe to vote. Don't say, okay, then you create a mysticism around it, and then after on November 11, results come out, and people go to the streets, and then illegitimacy fits into insecurity. So elections are not just about, okay, let's have election. The key thing about election is that legitimacy, that people say, whoever emerges from this process is the legitimate person. We trust the person. We do our intercessions. We do our petitions. Say, okay, but not when somebody emerges and other groups have incentive. And by the way, all conflicts are created by entrepreneurs. The political class has a capacity to foment, aggravate crisis. So what you do is to remove that. Because
they benefit from it.
From it. They're entrepreneurs of conflict. So they make statements and say, oh, it has been rigged. So the point was saying, it cannot be talking about Imo election. Would have been finality on 3 things. One, what would this reg do if she has been rejected by the main parties, the competition on election? The essence of democratic election is competitiveness. And that presupposes that everyone trusts the referee. Now, if people are going to the football match and saying, we don't want this referee because of these credible, even not proven, cases that she's involved, why not step her aside for this time being and create a college of national
electoral
national officers to go and manage that election? Since it's a very hot spot, Southeast Imo is not like the epicenter of the violence, the even terror. So look at the way soldiers were killed. So that's a place you handle very well. And so the cavalier manner in which INEC is just say, oh, we'll go for election. You keep those issues. Secondly, we don't know which of these. So I think that beyond mobilizing people and the defections and the endorsements, the real issue in Imo is after election,
securing
what happens to the fragile state of security.
I want to quickly chip in this. Our time is really getting nigh now. Amending the Electoral Act further, don't you think the voting system should be waived, as we see in other climes where you can vote from using the postal service? I
think we should get there. I mean, everything is getting digital. There's no reason why we should insist on voting in the way we do this way. But you see, the most important thing about either way, whether we digitalize or not, is the credibility. I mean, if we are still struggling with whether election results will be transmitted, I mean, let's forget the legality of it. It's in the interest of INEC to say, you know what, we will transmit real time, because it's not about legality, it's about their own guarantee of accuracy. They lose nothing from transmitting results from when it's done. That's what it's supposed to be. By the way, we watch elections and people call results without official call. Why? Because the results are known from polling units. In electronic age, and by the way, civil society groups have the capacity with the digital platform from their observers to tell you the result. So if you can collect all your results from the polling units, that's nothing, national security or difficult to broadcast it from that point,
the whole world.
For that world. So I think that we need to amend it, but we need to deal with the human aspect, which is the credibility and
integrity of the people.
And INEC has to show. If I'm not to say disband this INEC, sack these leaders, they have to show now with this office election that they are serious. And the starting point for Imo will be step down the professor, the rec, and define the voting unit, because people have confidence to vote, and people want to know that if you know that nobody goes out, let there be no result coming in from where people do not go out. If people can't do wedding, do funeral, which are customary binding things because of insecurity, you think they'll go and vote?
Let's see if anybody is going to step down. Do people step down again in Nigeria after the years of the likes of Paul Onongo then, when it was still
maybe
minister
the people are ordered.
Thank you very much. Associate Professor of Law, Dr. Sam Amadi, a rise analyst, for coming.